Imagine walking into your living room in winter. The ceiling is burning hot. The floor is freezing. The air is bone dry and dusty. You're paying a fortune for heating, and your feet are still cold. That's not a bug. That's a design choice. 2,000 years ago, the Romans solved every single one of these problems, and we forgot how they did it. Subscribe and comment for more ancient videos. Today, you're going to discover the Hypocaust, the world's first underfloor radiant heating system, how it actually worked, why a single Roman floor could keep radiating heat for hours after the fire went out, why Korean farmers built almost the exact same system on the other side of the planet, and why your modern radiant floor heating is a quiet copy of a 2,000-year-old idea. Stick around, because at the end, I'll show you exactly how you could build one in your own house today, without poisoning yourself with carbon monoxide. This is the story almost no one knows. Let's go. In the English Cotswolds, inside Chedworth Roman Villa, you can stand on a glass floor and look straight down at something extraordinary. 108 limestone columns, each about 2.5 feet tall, arranged in perfect rows under what used to be a stone floor. Those columns were never decorative. They were the foundation of a heating system that kept this villa warm for over 3 centuries, even after the Roman Empire collapsed in Britain. A mosaic in another room of the same villa was laid after 424 AD, long after Roman administration had left Britain. Someone was still maintaining and using this heated floor, while Rome itself was falling apart. The Romans called it hypocaustum, heat from below. Almost nobody alive today has heard that word. By the end of this video, you will never look at your own heating the same way again. A Roman builder started by digging down to solid earth and laying a flat mortar base. On top of that, he built the pilae, the columns. These were either stacks of square clay tiles mortared together or solid carved limestone blocks, like the ones at Chedworth. They were spaced roughly 18 inches apart and stood 20 to 30 inches tall, depending on the room. Bathhouses used taller columns for more airflow. Private rooms used shorter ones. On top of the columns, they laid massive 2-foot square clay tiles called bipedals. These acted like a ceiling, bridging the columns. Above the bipedals, they poured a thick layer of opus signinum, Roman waterproof concrete made with lime, sand, and crushed terracotta, usually 3 to 6 inches thick. On top of that went the finished floor, mosaics, polished marble, or cut stone. The entire structure was called the suspensura, the suspended floor. Underneath was a hollow cavity almost 2 feet tall, supported by a forest of columns. That cavity was the engine of the system. But they didn't stop there. Inside the walls, they built vertical channels made of hollow rectangular clay pipes called tubuli. These ran from the underfloor cavity all the way up to the roof. Hot gas entered the cavity, flowed under the entire floor, climbed the walls through the tubuli, and exited through small vents in the eaves. From the outside, you saw nothing. From the inside, you just felt warm stone under your feet and warm walls at shoulder height. The whole room became the radiator. Heat came from a small stone furnace called the prefernium, usually built into the outside wall and slightly below ground level. A slave or servant kept a continuous fire going. They didn't burn big logs. They used small coppiced wood, branches under 3 inches thick and about 2 feet long. Archaeologists analyzing charcoal from a villa in Italy found mostly oak, sweet chestnut, and leguminous shrubs from managed woodlands. Small wood was chosen on purpose. It produces a fast, hot blast of gas. Big logs burn too slowly to push enough hot air through the entire system. The fire produced heat and smoke together. Gases between 400 to 800 degrees Fahrenheit, 200 to 430 degrees Celsius, rolled under the floor, brushed every column, transferred heat into the thick slab above, then rose through the wall flues and left the building. It was a one-way river of hot gas constantly being replaced. This is where the system becomes genius. Roman concrete has an extremely high specific heat capacity. It absorbs heat slowly and releases it slowly. Once the slab reached roughly 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 35 degrees Celsius, it began radiating long-wave infrared upward into the room, exactly like the sun. Long-wave infrared does not primarily heat the air. It heats solid objects and human bodies. ASHRAE, the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, calls this mean radiant temperature. If the floor and walls are warm, you feel comfortable at a lower air temperature than with forced air heating. A 2020 study in the journal Energies tested a modern electric version. When the floor rose 13 degrees Fahrenheit, 7 degrees Celsius, the air only rose 7 degrees Fahrenheit, 4 degrees Celsius. Yet people reported full comfort. The Romans achieved the same thing with wood and stone. Once the slab was charged, it kept radiating for hours after the fire was banked. The floor became a thermal battery. Chedworth had at least 12 heated rooms at its peak. The dining room, triclinium, was 29 by 19 feet and fully heated. Other incredible surviving examples. The Roman baths at Aquae Sulis, modern bath, floors raised nearly 2 feet. Wroxeter, Roman city. You can still see the pilae under the largest freestanding Roman wall in Britain. The system was used in Britain from the late 1st century AD all the way into the early 5th century, over 400 years in one cold, damp province. While Romans were installing mosaics at Chedworth, Koreans had been using almost the identical system for centuries. They called it Ondol, warm stone. Archaeological evidence goes back to at least 1000 BC, with Neolithic precursors dating to 5000 BC. A tomb mural from 357 AD shows a woman feeding the firebox of a fully developed Ondol. The mechanics were nearly the same. Firebox channels under the floor. Radiant stone surface. Key differences. Korean channels were narrow and winding, and the firebox doubled as the kitchen stove. Zero waste. There is no evidence the two cultures ever shared the idea. Two civilizations separated by thousands of miles independently discovered the same elegant physics: heat the floor, not the air. The Ondol survived. Over 90% of South Korean homes still use a modern version with hot water instead of flue gas. Today's hydronic radiant floors use PEX tubing embedded in a 4 to 6 inch concrete slab, heated by a boiler, heat pump, or even an outdoor wood furnace. The slab is the thermal mass. The water simply delivers the heat. From a physics standpoint, this is a Roman suspensura with 2,000 years of metallurgy and plumbing added. U.S. Department of Energy data shows a properly designed radiant slab can hold comfort for 8 to 10 hours with no additional energy input. Compared to forced air systems, radiant heating uses 25 to 40% less energy for the same comfort level because there are no ducts, no stratification, and no moving air. You get even heat from the floor up, no dust circulation, and no cold feet. Yes, but not the original wood-fired Roman version under your living room. A true open-cavity hypocaust would be illegal in most countries today, for very good reasons. Carbon monoxide leaks through inevitable cracks in the slab. Korean Ondol systems in the 1960s killed thousands the same way. The smart modern solution: PEX tubing in a 4-inch concrete slab, fed by a high-efficiency gas boiler, air source heat pump, or outdoor wood furnace. You get the same thermal mass, same radiant comfort, and same efficiency, without the safety risks. The Romans would have used this version instantly if they had pumps and reliable pipe. The Romans had no thermostats, no peer-reviewed papers, and no electricity. They had observation, physics, and common sense. They worked with the laws of heat instead of fighting them. We still heat the ceiling while the floor stays cold. The Roman wasn't primitive, he was warm. If you enjoyed this deep dive, Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Comment below. Would you install a heated stone floor in your house? And if you've ever lived in a traditional Korean Ondol hall, tell us what it actually felt like. Next video, the Roman fridge that worked without electricity. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.